Hey guys, so I wanted to make this video about plantar fasciitis. I know it's something a lot of runners suffer from, and I wanted to share my experience about how I had plantar fasciitis and how I've gotten past it. A lot of people have asked me about it, so I figured that this video could be a good help. And so I have been running marathons, triathlon for many years, doing a ton of mileage, and then out of nowhere last summer, after a 20-mile long run in my training cycle, which is not that abnormal for me, a 20-mile long run, that day, later that day, my arch on my left foot was really sore, started to hurt, and then oddly, like a day later, my heel on my right foot as well, and I was totally freaked out. It hurt to walk. I went to a doctor. He's like, "Yep, this is all the signs of plantar fasciitis." Of course, I'm like, "No, what does this mean?" I'm terrified. Talking to friends who are saying they've been out of running for months, some even over a year. So I know it's obviously a really serious thing that affects a lot of runners. So I just want to share quickly what I did to help beat plantar fasciitis. I was able to be back to training within a month and a half. I did my 2 fall marathons last year, and subsequently I've been back at completely full training for Boston all year. At the beginning of this year, done marathons this year. I'm back. Been doing my 60 to 70, sometimes up to 75-mile weeks. So yeah, and I have, fingers crossed, I'm continuing to keep the plantar fasciitis at bay. So I wanted to share about that. So the number one thing I did when I realized that I was dealing with plantar fasciitis is I looked at my shoes, and I realized that I was doing a lot of my long runs in my race shoes, which is a stupid mistake. And I race in the Adios Pro 2s. I know it's an older model, but I was doing a lot of those because, people say, oh, don't do anything new on race day. So I'm like, oh, I want to get used to my racing shoes. But in actuality, those shoes are not meant to be everyday trainers. They're not easy on your feet. Plus, they wear out really quickly, which is obviously super expensive as well. But they're not meant to be everyday trainers, and they don't provide that support. So I went to my local running store. I got these, I tried a bunch of different things out, and I needed shoes that have more support. So I got these Triumphs. I got the Saucony Triumphs. I got these New Balance 1080s. I love these shoes. And I also got these Curex insoles for my Triumphs. And I actually have 2 pairs of the Triumphs and 3 pairs of the 1080s. And if you look hard online, you can find some good deals, and they're not super expensive shoes, So I make sure that I'm cycling through those. I'm never running on the same shoes 2 days in a row, let alone, I give my shoes a couple days to recover, and then I cycle, I switch off between these shoes for the most part. I have a couple other ones, but that was the first step. I started to track my mileage. I was running on my old shoes way too many miles. It gets so expensive, but it's just something you have to do to take care of your feet, is to be aware of how many miles you're putting on your shoes. So now I've tracked all that. I started tracking all that, and I got these much more supportive trainers. Totally recommend doing that. Big time. Don't be running on the same old beat down pair of running shoes that you've been using for years, or running in your race shoes too often, which is a mistake that I made. Secondly, something that I love doing is I got this foot bath. It's got these little rollers here. I put warm water in here. It can be hot, and soak my feet in Epsom salts. I get Epsom salts and I soak my feet and use those little rollers, and I can kind of roll that out in that tight area in my right heel especially, and I soak my feet, not super long, maybe just 10 minutes, but doing that every day, or especially the days that you run, you can really feel things start to loosen up. I can't tell you how good it feels, how much I recommend it. It's just I look forward to chilling out for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, just putting my feet in there, and it's like we just beat down our feet as runners, and I really, really recommend this. Another thing is I got this vibrating roller to roll my feet out. I use pretty much right after I run. I roll my feet out, and I really let my feet hang out on that roller while it's vibrating, and really get in there. And if you don't have, this is a little expensive. So if you don't want to do that, just a tennis ball, a normal small foot roller, or a tennis ball, like I said, or a lacrosse ball, anything to really get in there and roll that out. Super recommend it. Also, after my run, I really try to loosen up by going on some stairs and just hanging those heels off for a good 30 minutes 30 seconds to a minute, and doing intervals of that, switching off for a good 30 seconds at least, just to get in that deep stretch and hold it there. Loosen up the calves and then the Achilles, which is obviously causing all that tension in the plantar fasciitis. Another thing I did is having this stretch band, these exercise bands, and I do strengthening exercises with my ankles, which I think, hopefully is building up help building up strength. I do a lot of the normal strength training that runners do, but I hadn't done that. So I think that hopefully helped as well. One other thing I use that I wanted to point out, that this is a bit extreme, but I do it. I think they call it a splint. It looks like a boot that you use when you injure your foot, but basically at nighttime when I'm sleeping, I put my right foot in here. And this keeps my foot basically stretched. So if this is my foot, rather than my toes being down like that, it's up here, so that muscle's stretching and it doesn't get super tight, because people with plantar fasciitis can attest that the mornings tend to be really rough. This really helps with that. So I strongly recommend thinking about a foot splint, even though that might be a little extreme. Usually at some point in the night, I just tear the thing off because it's not that comfortable. But I think the combination of all those things and being super aggressive about it have helped me, as I said, get back to full strength without really much of a break at all in my running. And it's something that I need to be vigilant about and continue doing all these things, but it's worth it in the long run if you love running as much as I do and you want to continue. Again, I think the main thing though, step one is looking at your shoes, finding the right shoes, finding a rotation of shoes, and you're not just running on the same old beat down running shoes that you've been using for years, or running in race shoes too much, because those really are not meant for that. If you have other ideas, please let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear other strategies that people have used for getting over plantar fasciitis, and I know probably other people would love to hear too, because it seems to be something that really affects a ton of us runners and sidelines us, and nobody wants to be sidelined. So hopefully there might be a couple nuggets in here that will help people, and feel free to reach out if you have any questions. Peace.